driving the car.
Let me inject a thought here. Just because a person elects performance as his #1 requirement, he may also have other important buying motivations. For that reason, probing for needs never really stops, nor does the listening. In the course of conversation, you might learn that the customer is concerned about resale value or safety or the quality of the sound system. These are all needs, and while the main thrust is to satisfy the primary buying motivation, you'll also want to show how the automobile addresses these secondary needs. Obviously, the more needs you can identify and then satisfy, the more likely you'll be to increase the customer's perception of the inherent value in the automobile. And to put it another way, you're adding more evidence to support the contention that the sticker price does in fact reflect the worth of the automobile. At some point during the sale, and it'll be different with each customer, your presentation track will take you from the floor to the demonstration drive. Essentially, the demo drive is an extension of the floor presentation. The major goal remains the same, to prove that the automobile satisfies the customer's needs and that its value is equal to the price. In most cases, customers are going to jump at the opportunity to drive a Mercedes. However, in some cases, moving the customer from the floor to the demo drive may present more of a challenge. The question is, how do you handle this type of situation?
It's real easy. Come on, let's take a drive in this, and you just start walking. And they follow just like a puppy dog. It's whatever you want a customer to do. If you just say, come on, let's go do this, and you don't wait for a response, you just immediately turn around. 99% of the time, when you turn around and look back, they're going to be right behind you. You can sit there, come on, let's go throw snowballs outside. And if you take off, they're going to follow you. If they don't, then you haven't done a job before that to get them to follow you. You have to maintain control, is what it all comes down to.
Okay, so your prospect is ready for the demo drive. Now you face the next question, and this is one that you should have answered long before you meet your first customer. Where do you go on the demo drive? In part, the answer may be determined by your dealership location and the customer's time. However, in general, you should have 2 or 3 predetermined demo routes to choose from. Each, ideally, should lend itself to reinforcing the focus of our presentation. While no 2 demo drives are going to be the same, there are nonetheless some fundamental do's that you'll want to keep in mind. For example, you should always prepare the customer for his or her turn behind the wheel by taking a few moments to familiarize them with the basic controls. In addition, you should help the customers adjust the seating to ensure that it's set to their liking. At this point, we're going to show you several excerpts from 3 different demo rides. As you'll see, much of what the consultant says and does is determined by the customer's questions and responses to the automobile. The bottom line is that the demo ride is going to be as different as the personalities themselves.
On a demo ride, a lot of times I will take the wheel first and go out and do a few things, show the turning diameter, get away from traffic, turn the wheel over to the customer a few minutes later. The most important thing that I do on a demo ride is I get the customer off of talking about a car. I take them down Bradley Lane, show them, oh, aren't the trees pretty, isn't the weather nice, whatever, and make them feel at ease. Stop talking about the car. And then 5 or 10 minutes later, after just chit-chat talk, do you know John Jones, or that kind of stuff. What street do you live on? If you know somebody else live on the street, you try to, oh, I sold him a car. After 5 or 10 minutes, and you turn to them and say, how does the car feel? And it's like, oh, I'm driving your car. It feels great. They feel relaxed driving the car. When you take somebody out, they usually feel tense driving a $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 car, and you have to make them feel at ease.
I remember when I first came to Benzel Busch as a salesman, I had my first Mercedes-Benz demo, and it was just such a wonderful feeling when I picked that car up, driving home in it. The wood looks great, everything is new. It's just a wonderful feel to it. You have a fixed steering wheel, it's something to grab onto, and I just really try to sit back and let the customer gain that same sense of the car that I did the first time out. I think sometimes I have a tendency to take for granted how good the car actually is. You can't do that though, okay? Sometimes you have to point out a little bit. Remember, look at the quality of the finish on this wood. There's no other car quite like that. But mostly I let the people try to feel comfortable in the car, let them picture themselves as owning the car and what it just feels like to hold on to that Mercedes-Benz steering wheel and drive the car, surrounded with all of that comfort.
I had mentioned to you before that when you buy a car from, you can make it right here, from Contemporary, you are in fact buying the entire complex.
Okay, let me ask you something. When I bring the car in for service, do I get a loaner card?
Yes. Now the loaner car, Lynn, straight. And we'll go all the way down to the end of this road. Okay. The loaner car, Lynn, is something that I specifically do for my customers. The dealership is not involved in loaner cars just for the amount of them that they would have to have. They'd have to have 75 loaner cars. Yeah. But as an independent, as a businessman myself, I've got 2 cars that are on the premise at all times for my customers to use. Okay. So when you do arrange service, pick up the phone, call me. We will then arrange a day that's convenient for both of us, and you'll be provided with a car at no charge to you. Okay. That's something that I do for my customers.
I think one of the first things you'll notice on this on the SDL is how quiet the engine is. You know, we shut down the air just for a minute. This is a cold engine. You know, this is at a cold operating temperature. It's at its noisiest, and it's quiet even now.
Yeah, it is quiet.
Yeah.
Quite a bit more quiet than my car is.
Okay.
How's the car seem?
What I'm most impressed about driving it is I don't hear a rattle in the place. It's a nice, tight feel.
The car that I own is 12 years old. It's amazing how tight the car still is.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Have you ever owned a Mercedes-Benz before?
No, I've driven them many times.
You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
In theory, once you've uncovered the prospect's hot button, his buying motivation, and focused your sales presentation on proving that your automobile satisfies his needs, you should be able to move directly to the close. Notice I said in theory. Sometimes it works that way. However, chances are that at some point during the sale, the buyer will begin to raise objections. Usually these objections occur when you're about to get into the subject of price. You should understand that there are really two different categories of objections in our business. The first we call stated objections.
I appreciate the small discount that you threw